In this video, we'll look at how writers of literary analysis essays embed quotes and commentary into their writing. It's important that we first establish that incorporating quotes into your analysis writing is in order to support your ideas and your argument that you are claiming. Incorporating quotes is not just something that you should be checking off a list of things to do. It should be something that is an integral part of your discussion of a text. Remember as you do this to only include the parts that really matter, to keep your sentence structure correct when embedding your quotes, to include context when needed, and to always add commentary. We're going to go through and look at each of these bullet points in detail with student examples and explanations. As we do this, we'll be referring back and forth to the poem Harlem by Langston Hughes. If you're looking at this video and referencing it with the companion document, you may find the poem by clicking on this link. Let's look at our first example, incorporating only the parts that matter. Take a second, pause your video, and read the student example and the explanation below. Great, you've read the example and the explanation below. Let's look at the full poem that this student is using to analyze. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Notice, in the analysis that we just read, the student used words from the second and third stanzas of the poem. Rather than including the entire line or sentence that the words came from, the student chose to only include the words or phrases that they needed. This is a good example of how a student incorporates only the parts of the quote that they need for their analysis. While they could have included the entire lines or the entire sentences that the words and phrases came from, they felt that they didn't need that, because in this analysis they were focusing on the word choice that Hughes used and what those words implied about the negative outcomes of putting dreams on the back burner. Let's now take a look at how we need to be keeping our sentence structures correct when embedding and including context. Take a couple minutes and read the student example before and after revision, as well as the explanation that follows. Great. You should have read the student examples before and after revision, as well as the explanation that follows. Let's look at the student example before revision and ask ourselves, what is wrong with this example? Notice how in both quotes that the student has embedded, the quotes do not flow within a sentence. They stand on their own outside of a sentence. In the second example, after revision, the student has incorporated the quote into the end of their first sentence and then in the middle of their second sentence. You can think about embedding quotes like tucking quotes into your sentences. As you do this, it's important that you maintain the clarity of your sentence and a grammatical correctness to your sentence structure. In addition to embedding the quote by tucking it in and maintaining grammatical correctness, it's also important to notice here how the student included context for the reader of their paper. When they write the words in the final line of the poem, it directs the reader to understand that the quote that they will be incorporating is from the final line of the poem. The student has done this because previously in their answer and later in their answer, they have been discussing how Hughes organized the poem and the ideas within the poem and how that organization impacts meaning. So when you are thinking to yourself, should I incorporate some context? Ask yourself the question, does the context help the reader of my essay understand the argument that I'm trying to explain? And that will be your litmus test. Let's look now at the importance of adding commentary. Take a couple minutes to pause your video and read the student example after revision and the explanation. When it comes to adding commentary, it's important to understand that commentary doesn't look like just one phrase or one sentence after a quote. Full commentary shows a student who has developed their thinking completely, unpacking their ideas and elaborating on their thoughts. You'll notice how all of the green highlighting in this excerpt from a student response is, in fact, commentary. It reflects where a student is unpacking their ideas about the text, not simply restating what the text says or what the text is about, but what they think the text means. This is the type of commentary I'm asking you to do in your literary analysis writing. Remember, when you sit down to write your literary analysis essays, make sure you embed quotes and commentary with the tips presented here.